afternoon. Welcome to Let's Talk Personal. I am your host, as always, Frances Reimers. Thank you for joining us again this week. If you would like to join the conversation, please do so on Twitter at LTP Brand Radio or on Instagram at Let's Talk Personal. If you would like to talk personally to me, and all of you like to and send me very, very heartwarming notes every single week, please do so on Instagram at Firestarter CEO or on Twitter at Your Firestarter. This week, one of my favorite people and one of my favorite personal brands is joining me this week. Eboneka! I just like saying your name.
In the house.
Oh my gosh, so excited. Someone who matches me step for step with intensity and energy. I did caffeinate very heavily because I was hydrated. I was not going to be boxed out of my own show. It was not going to happen this week. So I hydrated early, caffeinated frequently because it's my damn show. And I was not going to be boxed out. But thank you so much for joining me. If you live in the DMV area, you probably know this face. You've probably seen some of his videos and some of his content out there. I love it. I watch it every time. So I'm so happy for you to join me. So welcome.
No, thanks for having me. No, seriously, because you can have anybody here. You ask people to come, and for someone to actually come and have other people watch, it means that you value them in some capacity. You value what they have to say, regardless of what it is. And you can have other people. You can actually just talk to yourself, and
which sometimes I do.
Yeah, and yet you felt it was important to have me here. So I'm always humbled that somebody wants to talk to me about something.
You could be anywhere else tonight, but you're here with us.
Exactly.
And so I know about you a great deal. I wouldn't say like 10 layers deep, but I know about you. I know some things. But many of our viewers out there, particularly in the Midwest of the United States, are not familiar with you. So I want to dive into you and your brand. And so you started out just a finance guy.
Yeah.
And you've grown into kind of this organizational development guru. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? How did that build? Walk us through this.
Well, I'm a CPA by trade.
Yes.
And then I went to Calvin College in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I'm very familiar with the Midwest, huge fan of the Midwest and Grand Rapids. But with that being said, I chose to become a CPA because I wanted to get a job out of college, and when I was done playing basketball overseas, I wanted something that was stable and not just wondering what was going on. But right. I also realized, working in a lot of public accounting firms, that people would always lose steam. So you get excited for the first year. You come in as an intern. You come in as a first year, second year.
CPAs get excited?
Taxes are phenomenal. Taxes, accounting, auditing, they love that crap. So everyone's going crazy, and you're excited because you're in a big company, a big right. firm, and you have like expense accounts and all this other crap, and you're traveling, and you feel amazing. And then within a year or two, you're burnt. And everybody was leaving after the third or fourth year. Maybe they made it to senior associate, and then they were out.
Right.
But what I realized is the people that ended up sticking, one were the smart ones, or the second people who stayed were the ones who were able to navigate themselves and understand the importance of leading themselves from a developmental perspective. And having the proper mindset about
right.
what to do. And that's important. And you can apply that to anything in life. It doesn't matter if it's your business. It doesn't matter if you are a student, whatever it is. And that's when I started. It was my own revolution of motivation and development and personal development. So.
Right. And so those who don't know, you have all of these kind of little offshoots. Mm-hmm. You're not just finance. You're a lot of other things mm-hmm. too. So kind of walk the audience through all of your little message points.
Well, I'm the founder and president of AeroCorp Consulting, which is like the parent. But underneath that, my last name is Eka, and economics is the leadership development and training brand. I also have an offshoot of digital media called Eka Digital Media, where we create content for brands in a variety of different areas and offshoots. And right. then the middle piece is pricing. So I help strategy from a strategy perspective for small business owners and sales. I help them with pricing,
yes.
Being able to raise your prices, charge more for what you do, and think a little bit differently about how you present your products and services. And I fell into that mainly mm-hmm. because of being in entrepreneurship and the importance of having sales. If you can't sell, you don't have a business. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you have the cure for cancer. If you can't sell somebody to take the damn pill, it's
right.
not going to work, right?
Yes.
So you have to be able to sell and communicate and influence effectively.
Right.
as a result.
And so talk a little bit more. I love the economics. So talk a little bit more about when somebody brings you in or an organization brings you in, what is that and what do they get? What's the benefit to them?
It's a great question. You see, the thing is, I always try to, when I'm having a potential sales call or a proposal call, I'm always trying to figure out what people want. So the way I operate is, and you can apply this to any parts of your life, not just in business, but people spend money because they want to solve a problem or get a desired result. So if I know that the reason someone wants to consider bringing me in is because there's something that's deficient in their life or lacking or some results they want to obtain. So for me, I have to find out what they generally want. A lot of the times it's sales focus. Right. Improving their sales. Maybe they have salespeople who aren't operating effectively. They have employees who aren't engaged. And by that can mean a whole bunch of things, but maybe they leave at 4:30 and they hate coming to work.
Right.
They think their boss is an a-hole, whatever you want to call it, right? And
yes.
and it's cheaper to improve the current employees than it is to go hire somebody else because you got to go through that song and dance again, right?
Right.
It's like dating or interviewing or whatever, or 90-day probation.
It's cheaper to keep a client than go find a new one.
Exactly. The second money is always better than the first.
Right.
So in essence, that's the way I always present it. If you're looking for money within your organization, let's encourage it and get your employees to re-engage so that we can fired up to not only help the mission of the corporation, the company, or their particular team.
Right. And so what's some of the secret sauce? Like what do you do? What do you say? What's kind of your mantra that gets people fired up and re-engaged and back in the game?
So the whole principle of economics is mission, mindset, and money, and the importance of congruency between all those three areas. So basically your mission, what is the purpose? Everybody has their own mission.
Right.
And sometimes the missions all align with the organization as a whole.
Right.
So within a certain team, maybe one person's mission is I want to be able to get home and spend time with my kids and my daughter or my wife or husband or whatever else. Or sometimes their mission is I want to play soccer on the weekends and not have to work 100 hours.
Right.
The problem is these people aren't comfortable sharing that with leadership. So, and then you have to find out what the middle manager's mission is. Then you got to find out what the upper leadership and the organization as a whole, what their mission is. And then the mindset.
Right.
So even if you know you want to do all this stuff, but if you don't believe it's possible, your mindset's going to be crap.
Right.
And then the money makes sense too, because at the end of the day, people who tell you money won't make you happy or poor, there's no way. Money matters, right? If you can't pay your bills, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
People talk about Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa had to go raise money from lots of corporations to help all those people in Calcutta.
Yes.
She's she's a saint, but she didn't come down from heaven and turn a couple loaves into thousands. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So you have to be able to influence other people. So the money does play a role. So for an organization, you have to have that idea and understanding that people do need money. So how do we get those three things for your organization aligned enough so that they come to work on fire?
Right. And so how is what you do different, or do you play off of if somebody has done, had their staff do like a Myers-Briggs or one of those other personality assessments? How do you play off of that, or do you say we're going to throw that out and we go in a different direction? How does that work?
I always tell people when I talk to them, my main goal is not to supplant what you're currently doing, but it's to support what you'd like to do.
Okay.
Right. And if you use Myers-Briggs, if you do John Maxwell, if you do a whole host, Franklin Covey, there's a whole bunch of them. But again, there's also fatigue. So you walk into that, people are like, this is another bunch of BS. I listen to this guy talk, some old guy with a tie, just talking from a book that he doesn't even believe in himself.
You have to do a trust fall.
Yeah, all that nonsense, and team building, exercise. Again, everything is short-lived. So if you have a chronic disease or illness, I use this as an example. If you have a chronic disease or illness, you have cancer, you don't go to chemo and radiation once.
No.
You got to do this a whole host of times before so you can eradicate the problem and elevate the good parts of what's happening. And it's the same thing with training and leadership and development and personal and professional development. So I will support some of the things that some people have already done.
Right.
But again, when we very few people are comfortable and capable of self-assessment.
Right.
Yes. Just because it's hard, we see ourselves differently.
Yes.
Right. It's hard to be honest.
4 spheres of self. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to be honest. You look at yourself and be like, "Are you an a-hole?" And be like, "No, I'm not." But in reality, you are.
You are.
Right. Everything else is telling you are. So,
right.
so those things, it's easy to circumvent the existing things. And my goal is to help support that once I have a baseline.
Right. Right. And so do you provide, something after the fact? Because
Yes.
there are some managers out there that just suck, and someone else has to keep the troops motivated. So what do you do after the fact to kind of not have what you've spent all this time doing completely undermined by a shitty leader?
No, that makes a lot of sense. The thing is, it's this. It's you going back to the disease analogy, going back to going to the gym, eating right, whatever it is.
Right.
The reason why a lot of people fail in a lot of things is because there's a lack of consistency in what they're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And that proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So their brain starts coming up with a story to justify why it's not working. Then you end up quitting anyways. Right. And so my goal for what we do is, whether it's introduction through a live workshop, is to create continuity and consistent programs going forward.
Okay.
You have to consistently train.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to go to Gold's Gym and lift and then I'm going to be Mr. Universe.
Right.
That's a bunch of crap. That doesn't happen.
No.
Right. But again, we have
and
that,
you'll injure yourself.
Yeah, you definitely will, because you're doing things like your body. The process is the process. Right. Nature has its own process. To grow a pumpkin, to grow a tree, you can't rush that.
Right.
I don't care how much sunlight and how much nutrients you give it or whatever the hell you do. You can't grow that. You can't. You can't grow it any faster than it already does.
Right.
It's the same thing with change and evolution. You have to be able to create consistent programs or consistent feedback or stimulus in order to get someone to where they want to go.
Right.
So so to support that, what we do is, after the live or whatever they want, they have access to training from a consistent basis.
Right.
I mean, every day I got to sell myself. You got to sell yourself every day. Let alone sell somebody else.
Kidding.
You know what I'm saying? I got to wake up in the morning.
You ain't kidding.
I got to wake up in the morning and say, is this worth doing? Like, every single day I have to do that, right?
Every day. Some people are like, yeah, the same thing with brand, and we'll get into that in 1 second. I want to kind of rewind 1 second because, as you know, we have a lot of different personalities that come through this desk, and athletes are certainly one of them. When you got finished playing basketball, when you had, the light bulb had turned on and you realized that your gladiating days were coming to an end, and what was that like for you? Because that is a shift in your brand, that's a shift in your mindset, that's a shift in your life. What happened in that process? And did you have an oh shit moment, or I think I know the answer to this, but did you have a plan? How did that chapter of your life close and the next one open?
I had a level of depression. Most people do. Like, anytime you've dedicated your life and time to something, and whether it's small or big, you'll have a sense of reflection and maybe a level of depression. So when I passed the CPA exam, I put so much time into it. I was depressed for like a couple weeks. I just like, what? It's kind of like a what now?
There's bride depression.
Yeah.
That women put so much time and effort into planning their wedding, and then as soon as the wedding is over, they actually go through, this is a thing, like a period of depression, because they're like, now what do I do with my days? I've spent all this time planning this wedding and now it's over.
It's the same thing. You can apply that to almost anything. Someone who runs marathons, same, they've been training, all of a sudden it's over, they're like, oh shit, this is what I was known for at that time. This was my brand at the time. And now I have to think of something else. Right. And that change is what causes problems for so many people. So I hit that level of depression, but I'd already planted the seeds for the CPA stuff. Right. And so the bad news obviously was that, but that's part of life. But the good news was I realized that shifting brands are possible. Again, this was back in 1999, 2000, 2001. No social media. It was Friendster, maybe MySpace. I mean, that was it. Friendster and MySpace were around. Nothing else. No handhelds. I still had a black and white analog phone. Cell phone, if you want to call it that.
I don't even. Maybe I had a phone. Anyway, I'm not sure.
But the point. So the bigger point was, I realized that I can evolve to something else. I have the freedom to evolve to something else. Right. And I wasn't defined by that one thing. And a lot of people struggle with that. You see that with athletes you probably work with
all the time.
At the end of their career, you're like, what? I was known for 20 years as this. Yeah. Now this is gone. Now what?
Yes. And it's really, it's sad. And I think it's a message point that is starting to bubble up to the surface more and more, especially with professional athletes, is you need to be someone else before this spotlight turns off. Yes. You need to figure it out. I worked with the Denver Nuggets just a couple of weeks ago, and one of my message points to all of the players was, you need to call me before this light turns out. You need to figure out who you are, the 2.0 version of yourself is going to be before this ends. Don't wait for this to end. I know that you're making, outrageously huge contracts. The richest guy in the room was making more than 30 million a year, and the poorest guy in the room was making 1.4 million. I'm like, y'all are still making more money than me. And I'm standing here telling you to plan ahead. And but it's a really hard thing to hear.
Yeah.
It's a very hard thing to hear, and people are like, oh, why don't they just get with it? If I don't care if you're an athlete, a singer, a dancer, an attorney, whatever. If you've defined yourself as one thing for so long and you now have to pivot in another, that's tough. Like people like you and me, I think we see the larger picture, and we're able to pivot naturally because we're goal oriented.
Yes.
But we're, I think, a very small exception to the rule.
I mean, we were just
honestly.
talking about that. The big companies and traditional brands are going through the same thing. Lauren Taylor and all the retailers and Sears, they refuse to pivot. They're like, internet schminternet. And now they're closing stores.
And their bricks and mortars are closing like crazy.
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't understand what happened. Of course you didn't, because you were lazy, you were complacent, you fell asleep at the wheel. And that's what the same thing happens in an individual as it does with a big corporation.
Well, and you know, these big brands are starting to crumble, not only because everything's moving online, but people don't realize that the customer service aspect of these big brands is hurts them as well.
Agreed.
Like, why would I want to go into a Macy's, or not picking on Macy's, don't tweet at me, but why would I want to go to a Macy's and have somebody be rude to me when I'm trying to find something, when I can go online and have nobody bother me whatsoever?
Exactly.
We have now shifted into a don't bother me economy, as I like to call it, a don't bother me economy, as prevalent by the fact that there's all of these automated checkout stations at places like Walmart and Target. It's more efficient, it's cost effective, and you're not being bothered. And brands need to get with it. They need to find a way to get out in front of that technology and find a new way to recapture their audiences.
Agreed.
So hold that thought for 1 second. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we get back, we're going to dive a little bit more into corporate brand and his experience in that world. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. you. We are back. Welcome back. So before the break, we started to kind of dive into corporate brand, but I want to pivot just a little bit into corporate executives and their individual brands. Now, you have taken on the whole concept of personal branding with gusto. There has not been any trying to pull you into this, but that's a very strategic decision.
Yes.
And being a CPA, I don't think that is naturally intuitive. So talk or share a little bit about why you've made those decisions and kind of the challenges and opportunities that have come by being very visible with your brand.
That's important for those who are watching. It's a very important question, and mainly because you hear this a lot, and I know you have. I've heard
Every
a lot
day.
too, where people are like, "Well, I don't want to be this person. I want to put myself out there."
Yeah.
You hear this a lot in professions like legal and accounting and doctors and all this stuff. And they're like,
Yes.
I don't want everybody to know what I'm eating. And what they don't understand is something very simple. You can read my lips or listen to what I'm saying. Is you control the shit you do. So if you want people to know that you're going to a certain place, you can post, I'm going to a certain place. If you choose not to, then you choose not to. But the idea that the minute you jump into social media or using a social platform, that you're not going to be able to control the message, what you're really telling me is that you lack discipline.
Right.
Like you lack discipline. It's like I'm taking you to a buffet and you can't stop eating. That's not on me. That's on you.
Right.
Right. And so this is the best time in the world for anybody on this planet to do almost anything they want to do that's legal and ethical to some degree. That you can usually use these platforms to create an audience of people who want to work with you and buy from you. You've said things that people saw things that you've done and it called you.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. Absolutely.
It's happened to me so many times too. So
people see things that I do, and I've posted many times that I get on social media every day and see people reproducing things that I have said and that I've done, and I don't get angry about that because that just tells me that I'm doing something right.
Agreed.
And so I don't get ass hurt about that. But going back to the discipline thing, this is a conversation that I have with especially professional services people, not so much with athletes or celebrities. They're more than happy to put their business out there. But professional service people, they're like, I don't need to be out there. People don't need to know what I had for lunch or where my wife and I are going on vacation. Okay, then don't fucking share it.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
That's not what you're there to do anyway. You're there to share your thought knowledge, your thought leadership in your discipline. If you don't want to talk about what you had for lunch today or where you're going, taking the family on vacation, then don't. But some people, that's their brand, and they're comfortable with being casual with their brand.
Exactly.
But you don't have to be casual with your brand in order to get results.
Exactly.
And there are people like you and me who are very casual with our brand. We share aspects of our personal lives with ease. But there are people, and we have colleagues who share nothing personal about themselves. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but they are very successful. Why? Because they're putting their thoughts out there. They're putting their, industry knowledge out there first.
Exactly.
And that's what it's about. It's a big misconception about personal brand is, you have to talk about your family and your dating life and, what you're wearing for Halloween. No, that's not what it is. It's about putting your thought, your thought leadership out there in a constructive, unique, and interesting way. That's personal brand, and trying to separate yourself from the millions of CPAs out there, the millions of marketing people out there. What is going to pull you away from the pack? That's what personal brand is.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Exactly. Especially if you don't have the money. Like if you have a lot of money, by all means, you don't have to. You can do whatever the hell you want. But but if you are a brand, that has limited budget I don't mean limited as in poor, but just limited in general.
Yeah.
You don't have to compete with the PwCs and some of the others, or the law firms, or the marketing firms, or all these others who spend millions of dollars every single year, or they hire Gary Vaynerchuk to run their social stuff. Like you don't have to be that guy, but I guarantee you can create an audience that is important enough for you that actually cares about what the hell you're doing. And to the point where people keep me accountable. So I have people who sometimes will text me saying, I didn't see a video this week. Or, hey, can you talk about this? From all over the world. Some I don't even know their names. And so I realize that I've created an audience of people that look forward to my content as a result. And they want to know what I think. And they send me emails. Some of them don't even... People I didn't even know who were following me would send me an email like, "Hey, I saw this video 6 months ago, and it reminded me of this." I'm like, "Holy shit! Somebody watched it." You know what I mean? And then it kind of puts you in a place where I need to start feeding more. No one cares about what I ate. No one's asking me about that.
No.
Sometimes I'll share that, but it's authentic to me.
Right. Or you're giving kudos to a restaurant or a
Exactly.
friend or something, and you're
Exactly.
using your platform to help them out, which reciprocity is not only a good thing, it's encouraged.
Agreed.
Friends should help friends out. We're all in the business of being visible, and so you should do those kinds of things. A lot of people, don't want to put their brand out there because they're like, oh, well, going back to the budget situation, like there's room at the table for everybody.
Yes.
There's enough business in this world for all the marketers and all the CPA people and all the leadership gurus. So why not put yourself out there?
Yes.
And to be quite blunt, you can, as a little guy, compete with these larger entities. Just because a company is big does not mean they're utilizing their brand effectively.
Never. Almost never.
Never.
Almost never.
Right.
Almost never. Look, before they post something,
Yes.
they got to talk to 10 other people.
Yep.
I work with some big brands personally, and things that I have to come up with,
Right.
they have to go through a network of 4 or 5 people
Yes.
before they even consider even doing it. Even
Yes.
then, they tweak it.
Yes.
So you have the flexibility as an individual or part of a small team that you can do what you want,
Yes.
and you can try and test things. Like, there's only 2 ways you can become successful in something. You do it yourself, or find somebody else to help you do it
Right.
for you.
Right.
That's it. There's no secret. God's not coming down.
That's really
There's no
it.
God of virality that's
Right.
going to come at you. Just put a couple cats on. Even then, it's not authentic. You can do a cat video. It may have a million different likes and views and everything else.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the fact that you're a lawyer,
Right.
And so
Right.
most people are lazy. They're not going to connect the two and think,
Yes.
that guy's going to be a good attorney for me.
Right.
Okay, I saw this cat video. They don't give a shit about that.
Nope.
They were entertained, and then they swipe
Right.
to somewhere else.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So don't make up a narrative that's not there. Just take a look and see what other people are doing, and hire people who can help you
Right.
get to that next level.
And sometimes, people, the biggest thing is as I see with brand building, is getting people out of their own way.
Yeah.
They really just need to get out of their own way. And once they do that, they're kind of off to the races. I have one celebrity client who fought me tooth and nail about getting on social media and being more visible. They were like, well, I'm on TV, I'm visible enough, I don't have to. And the second I got them onto platforms and showed them how to use it effectively and gave them some message points that they should just stick to, it was like a duck to water.
Yeah.
And now they're happy and they're just,
That's
just
awesome.
a little happy creature. But if you get out of your own way, you as your brand and you in your profession can really open up.
Agreed.
Because you're absolutely right that a lot of these larger, you're thinking you're competing with the big dog. Well, the big dog, it goes from marketing to legal.
Yep.
Then somebody else has to sign off of it. Then it goes back to marketing. But, Bob over here in this cubicle didn't like one word, so he's got to tweak it. You as a small business owner or an entrepreneur or solopreneur, you have the ability just to go right out there.
Yep.
And the great thing about social media is if you don't like it, you take it down.
Yep.
If you didn't like the way you worded it, you delete it and rewrite it and put it back up there.
Yep.
And you're the only person. And guess what? Not everyone is going to like everything you do,
Yep.
and that's okay.
Yep.
As long as you're making steady engagement growth over time, you're going in the right direction.
Agreed.
And if you see people in your space who is starting to copy and replicate what you're doing, then you really know
Yep.
that you're headed in the right direction. And so a lot of people just need to get over the fear of
Yeah.
being out there.
Yes.
It's very exposing.
Yes.
And people are like, oh my God, it's like being out in Times Square being completely naked. Not really.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of
a little much,
yeah, you're kind of overestimating how much people actually give a shit about you if you think that.
Agreed.
I mean,
Agreed.
keep in mind of how many messages we get every single day from all of the various platforms
Yeah.
that we're on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you putting one message out on Twitter is like a fucking drop in the ocean.
Agreed.
So do one little drop at a time and get yourself comfortable, and this will grow over time.
Absolutely agree.
It's really important. Have you had any drawback or any challenges that along this journey of putting your brand out there? Has there ever been like, ooh, that was not good?
No, not really, because the bigger thing is being authentic. So when
Yes.
you're authentic to who you are,
Right.
you won't necessarily second guess. So
Right.
you can equate this as somewhat similar to what comedians talk about, in the sense that a lot of comedians will say things like, what I'm saying in comedy is a lot of times an observation of what's already happening.
Yes.
It's not necessarily an opinion of something.
Right.
It's just an observation.
Right.
And so there's no real mistakes. You can look back. Mistakes the only reason you call it a mistake because in hindsight you look back.
Right.
At the time you thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Right. You said whatever that joke was and someone got insulted and you're like, well, at the time I thought it was a good idea. It just
Right.
maybe didn't work.
Right.
And it's the same thing with doing on social. So for me, I don't. There's some things I know I won't do, and nothing specific. It's just I won't necessarily talk about family. I won't be disrespectful to other people. I don't start fights with people.
Right.
Because there's no point.
No one wins.
No one wins. There's
wins.
no energy there.
Yeah.
I'll trend jack. I'll jump on trends and do things like that. But a lot of things that I do, I've taken the time to figure out what my demo is. Yes. What they're really looking for.
Yes.
And then I stay within those fences.
Right.
And that makes it easier.
Yeah. Stay within the navigational buoys.
Yes. Yeah, so you're not guessing. So you watch guys like Gary or Grant Cardone or any of those other people.
Yeah.
They know who their market is.
Absolutely.
Ty Lopez, you know who he appeals to.
Yes.
So when someone's complaining, you can take a look at the comments and I'll see exactly why they're complaining because it's not congruent to that person.
Right.
So he stays in his lane, and if you stay in your lane, you could say whatever the hell you want as long as
and it's going to be forgiven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important when people are starting out in their brand journey is knowing your audience is paramount.
Yeah.
I mean, you really, and if you don't know who your audience is, please take the time to figure that out or work with somebody like myself who can help you figure that out. Because you shouldn't be producing content if you don't know who the end user is going to be.
Exactly.
That's marketing 101. If you don't know who's consuming, you shouldn't be producing.
Yeah.
So understanding your audience is a huge deal. And because once you do, like I feel very comfortable in my audience base, and I know that I can say and do just about whatever I want, and it's gonna keep flying down the road.
Yeah.
But I do think when starting out your personal brand, you need to set parameters for yourself. And you just mentioned a few for yourself. You're not talking about family. You're not starting Twitter fights with other CPAs, which I actually think would be kind of funny. If you got into a Twitter battle with another CPA, I actually would pay to see that. Because what would you say? How would that go down? I mean,
my ruler's bigger than yours.
I mean, is there gonna be a pocket protector situation? Like what? How? I mean, that's gonna be like real West Side Story, Sharks and Jets action. I mean, exactly. Are you gonna be dancing out on the street to beat it? I actually would pay for that, but pay-per-view even. I would pay pay-per-view rates, but you have to be, I think every person needs, and I don't care if you're an athlete or a celebrity or a Fortune 500 executive or an entrepreneur, set boundaries of places you won't go with your brand. Like I don't post pictures of me in swimsuits or, I mean, I have girlfriends that will, and they'll go there. I do not because I'm sure it would do gangbusters for business, but I would just prefer not to, because that's not my brand. That's not me. I don't have to go to those lengths.
Exactly.
I also don't call people out. I don't, I'm not like, hey, thanks for stealing my stuff, XYZ person. You're welcome. Yeah. It just serves no purpose.
Agreed.
But some people are comfortable doing those kinds of things, and that's personal and why it's your personal brand. But setting boundaries for yourself when you start your personal brand, I think is huge.
Agreed.
Other than being afraid to get out there and getting out of their own way, what do you think is keeping a lot of executives from wanting to? Because we all have to make sales, we all have to bring in income. What do you think is keeping a lot of executives, and how can companies? Because you're in there inside these companies, what could top brass do or say to encourage their staff to get a little more comfortable with this and get in the game? Because this is not going away.
No, you're right. So it's only becoming more and more expansive, and culture always starts from the top. So a lot of times, people I've spoke to in the past in other companies, a lot of it is not only culture but compliance. So especially in certain industries, they're afraid of legal issues. They're afraid of a whole bunch. No, everyone. When you get too big in corporate, it makes sense. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. Because again, your brand can be ruined with one tweet. Your company can be ruined with a series of bad decisions.
Yes.
One bad decision can ruin everything.
Yes.
And so I totally get that. And the last thing you want to, if you're going to ruin your company, ruin it because you made a bad decision with stocks or something. Don't ruin it because of some tweet.
Right.
That's nonsense.
Right.
So I get that. But in the same token, what you said earlier, if you set parameters for what people can and can't do, I think it increases the likelihood of people being authentic and creating again, when you're training other people and you're working with other people in teams, you give people parameters, but within those parameters is freedom. Right. So people think that they're getting what they want, but they also have the reins pulled around them. So I use this as a basketball analogy, and you see this in football too. We had one play, but within that play, there's freedom based on what was happening. Right. And you can apply the same thing in a business setting. One of the most frustrating things that people see, and I see that I spend a lot of time on Twitter as well as Instagram. Right. One of the most frustrating things that I see brands do is that they have canned responses. They have some company they hired who they've been told you can only say these 5 things.
Right.
If someone says this, it's only one of these 3 things,
Right.
and that's
Choose which one's most appropriate.
Exactly.
Right.
That's it. And that's the freedom they get. But
Right.
it's ridiculous because it's like,
Yes.
oh, my bags got lost. Oh, we're sorry to hear about that. Hey,
Right.
we'll email this person.
Right.
I don't want to hear that crap. I have
Nope.
no underwear for tomorrow
Right.
or the next week. Right?
Or I'm sleeping on the ground in an airport. Why can't you get me out of here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that. So
Right.
it's having some sense of authenticity and humanity in it.
Right.
Adds additional value to that. And
Right.
the brands that are able to do that, you see them, they go viral. You see
Right.
Wendy's being able, with the Twitter, people talk crap about Wendy's.
Yeah.
The guy claps back.
I mean, he claps back hard.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And
Yes.
like, damn. And then other people, Whataburger does the same thing.
Yes.
There are other brands who do certain things based on they have the freedom. There's a level of comfort in the
Right.
freedom that they have.
Comfortability.
Comfortability. I was actually thinking that.
I was like, is
but
that
that's not
really a word?
Yeah, that's why
I think it's I think it's a made up word. No, I've had a couple of clients who are like, why aren't you responding to messages that come into me from Twitter or Instagram? And I'm like, because I shouldn't be responding. These are fans.
Yep.
And they have authentically asked you a question or, gave you a shout out.
Yep.
You should authentically respond.
Exactly.
It's not my job. Like now, if somebody has if it's a crisis communication thing
Yes.
or a public relations concern or a safety concern,
Yeah.
I will absolutely step in. But
Makes sense.
I think whether you're a CPA or an athlete,
Yep.
you should authentically be engaging with or a corporation. You
Agreed.
should be authentically engaging with people when they're coming at you.
Agreed.
Because the second, and I believe this for corporations as much as an individual, the second somebody feels that the real person is not responding, that hurts your brand just as much.
They get angry. They
Yes.
get furious. And that's when
Yes.
that's when they start sharing it, start calling you names and all sorts of other nonsense. When
Yes.
you can say the meanest thing to somebody. If you just reply and you know it's authentic, hey,
Right.
why you so mad? What's going on?
Right.
Or what's happening?
What's up?
All of a sudden it's like, oh my bad. I was just they start
Right.
apologizing.
Right.
That's one of the best ways to diffuse
It can
that situation.
de-escalate very
Exactly,
quickly.
Exactly.
But when you get a canned statement that sounds like it came from somebody's publicist
Yep.
or somebody's attorney, that's when things I think they get out of control. And I don't care if you're a D-list celebrity or
Yep.
a corporation. When people take the time to authentically reach out to you, whether it's bad or it's good,
Yep.
I think that you should take the time to respond. Kevin Durant got a lot of heat because he was spending a lot of time engaging with fans on Twitter. I mean, there was some woman that he was having a full-on battle with back and forth.
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, oh, if he was my client, I'd be like, okay, enough.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
interacted with this person enough. But I kind of like the fact that he is so mavericky that he was like, F this. I'm
Yeah.
going to get in and talk to these
Yeah,
people. If you're
yeah.
saying bad things about me, if you're saying good things about me, I'm going to get in there. Now, he took it a little too far by
Yep.
creating a faux account
Yeah.
to come at these people, but we're also finding that Roger Goodell's wife
Yeah, I
had
saw that.
a mysterious account, and she was going after his attackers. That is an interesting thing because people are getting, especially people who are in the limelight, are getting to the point where they feel like they need to have advocates.
Yes.
That's what this is.
That's
It's
basically
faux
it.
advocates to get in there.
I agree.
This is going to be an interesting trend in branding and social media that people are starting to develop their own advocate
Yeah.
to come and protect them. But until this evolves in that direction, I do think that companies and individuals should authentically get in there and respond.
Agreed.
Because the second somebody feels like they're not talking to you or to me or to Target,
Yeah.
that's when they disengage with your brand.
Yep.
They step off because they're like, oh, my interaction with you wasn't good enough for a real genuine response.
Yeah.
And you probably get this too. If somebody sends me a direct message on Instagram, or Twitter or
Yeah.
Facebook, I respond.
Yeah.
And more than once, somebody's been like, "Oh my God, you actually respond?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you think I am? I'm not Cher, and I am not getting so many responses that I just can't." Sometimes I don't respond to friends and family,
Yeah.
but if someone's dialing me in, and I'm surprised that they're surprised.
Agreed.
Really? I mean, I'm just Francis. Like, I have time to respond. I sit mindlessly in front of the TV like everybody else. I've got time. If I don't respond, it's probably because you're creepy.
Yeah.
But it surprises me that people are surprised that someone at my level is responding.
Yeah, because it's removed. Everything's removed. It's so
Right.
far removed. So very similar to what you said about having your own advocates.
Right.
A person who can help develop their own brand will create automatic advocates.
Right.
Then you won't have to fight those
Absolutely.
battles.
Right.
Those people will come and they'll vilify you.
Yes.
Right. And you see that with a lot. I mean, obviously, the current political climate. You see that with people who like Trump, people who like Hillary Clinton. The
Right.
same thing. Like you say something
Right.
crazy, they all come and devour you.
Or Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce.
The beehive will come at you.
They come and swarm on
Right.
you. It's
Absolutely.
like white blood cells in the body just devouring a virus. Right. It happens like crazy. And so the bigger thing is, it's like you have to understand. It's hard because I mean, you're a human being. You're hearing bad things.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You have to remind yourself that it's people who spend the time to talk crazy to you online.
Yeah.
And remotely. Just think of the quality of their life.
Right.
That is to them. That is the best thing that's happened to them today.
Right.
Like what they did to you.
Yes.
And they're hoping that you're going to respond.
Yes.
Because they have no other positive way
Right.
or useful way of reaching out to you,
Right.
connecting with you.
Well, it's as Jeremy, the station owner, likes to say, it's misdirected love.
Yeah, that's basically it is. It is. Because eventually it turns to admiration. So
Right.
what ends up happening is, oh, you
It's like
piece
the
of shit, you're
person
garbage.
who like
da-da-da-da.
beats you up on the playground.
Exactly.
As a kid.
But
Yeah.
at some point you're like, hey, dude, why you this way? Hey, I'm
Yeah.
sorry you feel this way. And they're
Fair
like,
enough.
oh, man, I've always been a fan of yours. Of course you have. That's why you're talking crazy like this. It makes perfect sense. Like subconsciously, you really love me. You're just behaving crazy because I won't give you the attention you want.
Right.
You're acting out like a child.
Yes.
That's fine. But
Yes.
let's just call it what it is, and then we can move forward.
Right. I'm fairly certain. I tell myself that the person. So I had a person email me and say that I'm fat, like that they watch the show and I'm fat, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I tell myself that person. You remember in the scene in The Bodyguard that like crazy janitor guy
Yes.
who opened up his locker and there were all these pictures of like Whitney Houston, like part of her hair and like a part of fabric. I'm pretty sure that person has something like that of me at their house.
It has to be. Look,
Because that's what I tell myself.
it has to be the person who's going to take the time to do that.
I feel bad for them.
I feel bad for more people. This is what I always do when I hear something negative, someone says something crazy to me.
Right.
The minute I do, I go to their profile.
Yeah.
I go to their Facebook profile. I try to find them online, see what they're
Right,
doing.
right.
They're almost always don't have real pictures.
No.
It's all pictures of animals and images
Or
and
sports
bullshit.
teams.
And sports teams.
Yeah.
And I love them. You take a look at what they're wearing. They're at the stadium drunk. They're tailgating.
Right, yep.
Like and then if you do all that stuff, I'm not saying that's you, but just think about it for a second.
There's a profile, though.
There's a profile for a reason.
Right.
And you and all the other things that they
Right.
lash out at.
Yes.
And you go to their Twitter, whatever. It's a series of lashing out. So
Yes.
it's that's who they are, and that's what they become. So I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
Right. And it really doesn't hurt me. Like,
Right.
You call me whatever name. It doesn't hurt because you play no role in my ability to make money and live and do whatever the hell I want to do.
No.
Right.
No.
You're responding to me.
No.
Right. I
Right.
didn't come seek you.
Right.
So therefore, look, you're losing. I get it.
Yeah, and this is something that is going to continue to grow.
Of course.
I actually was on a panel not too long ago where somebody asked me what I thought the future would be for personal branding. I think it's going to get to the point where reputation management skills are going to have to be taught in junior high, high school, college, because we're going to get to the point where it's going to have to be commonplace that everyday people know how to do their own reputation management online because it will become so commonplace that we're going to have to combat it in some way for the betterment of mental health everywhere.
I saw, I think months ago, you went and spoke to a high school, and you speak at colleges. It's the same thing.
Yep.
You can't. If you're a person.
Yes.
I was going to say if you're a famous person, but if you're just a regular person,
Right.
you are literally being watched. If you have
All
a
the
digital
time.
footprint by everybody,
Everyone.
and all you have to do is say one crazy thing, and you can
Right.
lose your job. It's one
Yes.
crazy thing, and you're out of school. Whatever,
Right.
you fill in the blank.
Yes.
And so you're right. You have to think about reputation. I always think about that. I try to play chess, while most people in life are playing checkers. And
Right.
the reason I say that is not the obvious reason that chess is more complex. It's very simple.
Right.
Checkers, I only have to be concerned with the person in front of me.
Right.
I'm jumping the next person and maybe become king.
Right.
For chess, I have to think 3 or 4 moves ahead just to get the rook out the way or the knight. I'm not even thinking about the king, right? And so you have to think multiple moves ahead in order to be able to have any type of semblance of life
Right.
that makes sense.
Right.
And if you don't, then that's when you end up screwing yourself.
And I tell, when I talk to high schoolers or college students or a mix of the two, a big part of my presentation is talking about dealing with trolls, because your reaction to somebody's negative posting or baiting, because most of it's baiting. It's all baiting. It's all baiting.
Yep.
And your reaction to them could actually bring you down, and they will remain unharmed.
Exactly.
I equate it to riding in a car with a drunk driver.
Yeah.
The drunk driver's behind the wheel and there's the passenger. What often happens in these situations? The drunk driver lives because on impact, their body is loose and nothing happens to them, but the poor passenger gets it, right? And so you reacting to somebody coming at you in a negative way online usually impacts you more than it impacts them.
Agreed.
And it usually brings you down completely because you lose your shit.
Okay.
And so I talk a lot to young adults about, maintaining composure and knowing what to do and when something deserves a response and when it doesn't.
Yeah.
And the same thing can be applied to executives.
Exactly.
If somebody's coming at you personally, if somebody's coming at your company, questioning your integrity, questioning your financials, and people do this. This is stuff that happens when you just let something roll and when you should really, really take action. Because, again, you're usually the person that gets dinged and they kind of walk away unscathed.
Exactly.
But speaking of social media, you and I are very heavy social media users. We're literally on it morning, noon, and night. What almost too much sometimes I think of myself. What is your favorite platform right now and why?
My favorite is video. So anything I can do video on, long form video. I know I experimented. I used to do inspirational Instagrams, 59 seconds or less, and then I started doing that again recently. But I last 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I was doing it every day.
Right.
But I like longer form videos. So I've been testing lengths of videos, types of messaging.
Right.
It does a great deal of things for me because it forces me to be succinct in a message and to think about how people can receive it.
Right.
So that's so. Before I continue with that point, a lot of people always want tips. But what they don't understand, what they need to understand is not the tips that's going to help you. What's going to understand you is the methodology behind it.
Yes.
So someone was like, what's the best platform? You should go over here. Just go to Snapchat. That's great. But if it's inauthentic to you.
Yeah, then it's going to sink.
You're wasting your time. And then you're going to say everything doesn't work.
Right.
So for me, it's understanding the methodology of how people receive information. How can I give it to them in a way that they will receive it and then act on what I need to act. So
are you A/B testing, this is marketing nerdo world, but are you A/B testing like when people jump out of the video?
Yes.
Are you okay? So
yes.
You're looking to see, and so for those who at home who are not marketers by trade, A/B testing is you take the same product, you do a slight variation on each of them to see what is performing best with your target audience. And when I'm saying somebody is jumping out of a video, when you see a pre-roll video, for example, on Twitter or Facebook or something like that, there's a specific reason why it's the length that it is, and it's because we know that after a certain amount of time, no matter how much you like us or how much you like our message, you're going to jump out just because your attention span is now kaput about this particular topic.
Exactly.
And so are you finding a flow with your message? Are you finding kind of that sweet spot of when people are like, we're done with you?
Less than 5 minutes. About maybe 4 minutes on average for the longer videos.
Okay.
LinkedIn has been longer.
Right.
So I do videos. So now LinkedIn allows you to upload native videos,
which is nice. Yes, it's great.
So LinkedIn videos go longer for a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's a lot more business people there. They're not there for gossip. So they'll watch something, especially if it can help their business.
There's people that are taking...
They are doing
that. It's getting creepy on LinkedIn. But anyway, continue.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And then with YouTube, it's I know if people are watching a lot of my videos because they'll ask me questions that were like maybe 6 minutes in or something like that. And then I'm like, oh, that was like a 10-minute video, 6 minutes. That's around the time I said this. So I'm kind of like paying attention to what I'm hearing from feedback-wise. And I always try to get people to respond, comment below. I always have an ask in any of my videos. So tell them who I am, tell them what the message is today, and then so they know whether or not to commit. Rather than just talk. So I say, this is who I am. I have this small 10-second narrative intro, 5 seconds, and then I say, this is what we're going to talk about today. I'll go into my message, and then throughout that, I'll say, hey, like, share, comment, subscribe. If you like anything I'm doing, if you have a question, comment, something you want to add, comment below so that I can create a video for you. And that actually starts to generate some more traction as well. And I see you do the same thing.
I do the same thing. I don't do as many videos as I would like to, mostly because I get wrapped up in the day of doing other people's content.
Yeah, of course.
So, but I need to do more. You do live videos, and this is not a expensive apparatus. You're not renting a studio. You're literally doing it on your
On
Samsung.
my Samsung.
Yeah.
If I do, I can do YouTube Live.
Right.
Facebook Live. I'll also use my MacBook sometimes.
Right.
I used to use BeLive for
Yep.
Facebook Live. I
Right.
do Periscope on that as well.
Right.
And it's all just a phone. I make
Right.
sure I have light. That's the biggest thing, is light and sound.
Yes,
You know.
that's a big thing that people don't understand is the quality of the light you have on you and the quality of the sound. Like if
Yes.
you're 18 feet away from your phone, we're not going to be able to hear you.
Agreed.
And there are like literally $9 microphones you can plug into
Yes.
your iPhone and clip to yourself, and it improves the sound.
Yeah, for Amazon.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and it removes the, the surround sound and that sort of thing. Have you, you do live video, that's your thing. Have you thought about moving into, animation or any other forms of
I'd be down with
video?
animation. I would
Yeah.
be down at some point in the next 6 months to a year. The goal is to, my goal is to continue with the video content
Yeah.
and then repurpose stuff. So
Yeah.
my goal is to do what some other people are doing, like Gary
Yes.
and Grant and a bunch of others, where they have a shooter
Yep.
and someone who, video guy. They have a video girl. They have a shooter, and then
Person.
they have
Video person.
video person. Yes, yeah. Whatever gender you want to call.
Okay.
So they'll have a video person, and then they have 1 or 2 people edit.
Right.
And they're constantly, they have so much in the bank
Right.
that you don't have to. You've created so much, you can literally just bang things out
Right.
here
This
and there.
and this is a really good point that I share with a lot of people about their personal brand. I actually just had a meeting with somebody about this last week. I'm like, shoot it all in one day.
Yes.
Like there are very cost-effective ways. If you're not a video person or you don't feel comfortable, there's studios all over the place that for a very low cost will let you rent the studio for half a day.
Agreed.
And you bring a couple of outfits, you change, but you knock out like 6 to 10 videos in a day, and you have content for literally weeks and weeks and weeks.
Agreed.
And they just can't get past this. How do we do it?
Yeah.
And I share with people all the time. I'm like, you get the video. It can be long. You can cut it down. You can do a pre-roll. I mean, there's so many ways that you can slice and dice this. I'm sure I know you do this, and I do this as well. As a lot of people for your personal brand, if you are on a limited budget, develop your content in the turkey dinner method. So you absolutely produce a topic in the biggest form that you possibly can, and it allows you to cut it down so that you can recycle again and again and again.
Makes perfect sense.
I mean, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And I think that's the success for the content side of the personal brand is think, and then you can cut it down as much as humanly possible. What is your least favorite social media platform?
I'm not using Snap.
Yeah.
Barely at all.
No
but
one is.
I think the thing is this. But Snap though, they just opened up their API where that you could, when you go to a location, you snap something, you can actually do a lot more. There's a lot more functionality.
Yes.
And I think.
But will it
be
save
great.
it? Will it save it?
That's the key.
Yeah.
They're burning through cash like
Yeah,
crazy.
like
They're trying to
crazy.
raise like a bunch of other like Uber and Lyft and everything else. So they're trying to raise more money because they're running out.
Yeah.
Because they haven't generated. They haven't done like Facebook did, where they're early on with ads and stuff like that. So that's kind of my least, I guess. I saw some people talk crazy about Twitter, but that's still the corporate social media. People don't realize.
Yeah.
You can still, everybody's still talking about Twitter. Athletes are still using it.
Yes.
Celebrities are still using it. That's the quickest way to connect with people.
If you are in a position where you engage with the media at any level, either you consume things from reporters or you need to engage with reporters, you cannot abandon Twitter.
Agreed.
You cannot. It is the news platform.
Agreed.
You cannot get off of there. So I think Twitter has some staying power. Facebook has had a resurgence because of Video Live, which we're on right now, and it's going to bring back the younger millennials, and I think Gen Z is probably going to come back around to it at some point. We can actually go on and on about this forever and a day, but we can't because we're out of time and somebody else has to have this desk right after us. But I want to thank my guest. Thank you so much for being on the show. I love you. I love your content. Where can people find you?
Twitter, Abong Eka. There's at Abong Eka. Instagram, the same thing.
That's an E, not an A.
Yes, E. Don't misspell my name. I'll be angry. You won't like me when I'm angry. So also, the Hulk reference. But anyways, also economics, EKANOMICS.com. You can find more information about what we do there. You can also send me a message, reach out to me if you're looking to get your employees engaged and inspired and to actually produce.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And please do connect with him. It's good stuff, especially if you own a business or you run a business. There's always good food for thought there. Join me next week where I will have the Child and Family Network Center's Executive Director, Lisa Carter, on board, a cause very, very near and dear to my heart. Until that time, you know where to find us on Twitter at LTP Brand Radio or on Instagram at Let's Talk Personal. You can talk to me personally on Instagram at Firestarter CEO and on Twitter at Your Firestarter. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.